Today, we're going to talk about motivation. We're going to understand exactly what motivates us and how it influences our ability to get better at golf, and really finding out which type of motivation are we currently under, or which one do we need to be under, or can we be under all three? I'm Derek White, and this is Sunday Stick.
You see, first you come up with a plan, and after that, take over the world and watch them hate.
Good job. I am so proud. Really monsters.
You see, first you come up with a plan, and then after that, take over the world and watch them hate.
Good job. I am so proud. Really monsters.
Now, as we get started, really the biggest thing about today's episode is just really helping each of you listening to understand how motivation works, how we can benefit from it, and how certain types of motivation can hinder us or really make us inept in our ability to get better at playing golf. Now, as most of you have come to find out, I'm very much taking a different approach in how to talk to golfers about ways to think differently and getting better. Now, many years ago, I read a book. The author of this book was Daniel Pink. Now, what was interesting about his book is that it talked about really what motivates people to do a job. It could be, let's just say a sales team. It could, I think some of the examples he's done for some of his TED Talks is Google, other companies like that. I think Microsoft was one of them. But he's dived into this, and I mean, this is a best-selling author. And lucky for me, one of my students at the same time that was taking lessons from me is very much like Daniel Pink, a self-proclaimed self-motivator, talks about motivating business leaders, things and such as that. What I found very intriguing about Daniel Pink's stuff is how he was mentioning that the science of what motivates people has been out for so many years. I think his TED Talks was like early 2000 when he was really trying to present this. I think he was overseas in England, London, whatever, their economic university over there. But he's talking about the science of what motivates people and how businesses do not apply what is reality and what motivates people. And he describes it, I think, in his book, some areas of it as archaic, right? That it's always money that drives people to get better. And they've found through tons of studies that money does not really motivate people as much as we think. But again, businesses, as he's putting in his book as well as in his lectures, is staying to this archaic system. Now, the question might present from you, where is this going, Derek? And I'm happy to let you know. So I saw this book as a way to improve myself as an instructor, as well as just a human being, and just motivation, understanding motivation. So we have three intrinsic motivators that have been found. We have the autonomy, we have the mastery, and we have purpose. right? Now think of these three pillars in a diagram where they all intersect with each other. And within that intersection, we can look at kind of understanding maybe a little bit of more of the golf aspect, right? Discipline in our training, dedication to our training, and desire to get better, to score lower. Now, in the very middle of this is your drive to get better. But we have to understand these three pillars and how they can be affecting and or helping you get better. Now, again, I'm just a guy who's been teaching golf for a really long time that loves helping people get better. And I would say that yes, I'm very much someone who is an expert at improving swings. But I'm no expert in understanding the psychology or sociology of this kind of stuff. But I find it very intriguing, and I want to give you my take on how it can apply to getting you better at your game. So if we move in first to the autonomy of this, most of you I'm pretty sure understand what that means. But let's just run through it real quick. Right? And so in simple terms, autonomy means the ability to make your own decisions, act independently without being controlled or influenced by others. So let's think of some off the top of our head examples of this. So if I were going to say, who is someone who's utilizing the autonomy aspect of as a motivator, okay? They're those people that are, grabbing books, right? Reading about golf instruction or how to get better. They're going on Instagram, they're going on TikTok, they're going on YouTube. I mean, these are the main ones now that I would use an example, but these individuals believe at most, I wouldn't say that they're at 100% full autonomy, but they have a very, very large or majority of their learning motivator through self-training, that they can do it themselves. They can gain information from others and or just go out by themselves thinking of what they already know and just being creative about it and try to improve their swings. Now, it's not saying you can't get better through this motivator or this style of basically self-learning, but it can slow your progress and create a lot more frustration for you. So you can find yourself through your discipline, dedication, and desire, your drive to get better, could struggle within this. So again, the whole thing of the autonomy is, feeling of being in control and working in a way that feels natural to you, right? So at this point, you're not really getting any feedback, let's say external feedback. You're only getting internal feedback. Again, intrinsic motivators, right? So within this model, I just caution those that might find themselves to be showing signs of this autonomy system, to possibly just say, hold on, let me think about this. Am I doing this? Well, if you are within this, we have to take everything with a grain of sand, right? So with that, I would suggest a few pieces. Now, I've written down some notes about this. So if you're going to work through being fully within the autonomy and you're trying to do this yourselves, here are three things I would highly suggest you focus on writing down and working through if you are in this pillar. Okay? Number one is that you want to make sure that you're making the right choices. Number two, you want to be focusing on what tools you're going to need Okay. And then really just creating trust in the system that you're creating. Right. Now, this can be played in all three of the pillars by utilizing the system, choice, tools, and trust. Okay. But you need to, very much so, if you're going to try and go about it on your own, you need to have these three. Okay. Very, very important to have these three. Now, before I bore you with the whole autonomy thing here, let's move a little bit on to another pillar. Let's just move on to another pillar. So our next pillar here, let's say we'll jump into purpose. Okay. Right. So purpose is the knowledge that the work actually matters. So you're thinking that your motivator here, so we're looking again to discipline, desire, dedication, your drive, but your intrinsic motivator is purpose. Right? You want to feel that what you're doing matters. Now, we can talk about this many different ways, but the way that you want to think of purpose is that, are you doing it for others? Is the purpose to impress fellow golfers, your friends, your family? Because if it is, I would tell you as a coach that we need to pump the brakes, pull over on the side of the road, and take a deep breath and say, you know what? I need to focus on my purpose as being more that it matters to me. That doing improvement for golf or getting better at it is important to me because I enjoy playing golf. And I want to make sure that, I'm going to be able to continue to enjoy it and not put too much pressure on myself by creating the focus or motivator of purposes that I'm letting everyone kind of almost like I'm letting people look in at me and seeing that I'm not developing fast enough. And, I feel like I'm letting everyone down. I mean, that creates a lot of stress for people. So we want to be very careful, very, very careful working purpose. Now, if we drive more into the details of purpose as being a motivator, okay, we want to understand the sense of meaningfulness and impact on one's improvement. I mean, this is a huge motivating force. Purpose is, if we think of it as for business or family or just as ourselves as getting better, purpose is probably one of the biggest motivators in day-to-day life. I mean, we all think of, why am I here? Right? We could go as deep as that. But when we're dealing with the idea of understanding the three pillars of motivators and how it can relate to golf, we need to understand them enough to then identify which one we are. So think of it as this echoing as meaningful work, right? So you want to go to the practice range, you want to go and potentially say take lessons, or you're just, just thinking about just the full purpose of your game and the purpose of improvement and what it really means to you. Okay. So tips that we want to have, right, when we're looking at this is we want to communicate to ourselves the vision. Okay. We want to definitely have a vision. We can't just say we want to get better and not have a vision. I mean, think of it as starting a business or maybe trying to write a book or even doing what I'm doing now. Creating a podcast. There has to be a vision. There has to be a reason behind your purpose and why you're choosing purpose so you can feel fulfilled in that as a motivator. Right? So, with that being said, let's move a little bit further along and talk about mastery. Now, many of you that may have taken lessons from me that could be listening today or not But that know me is that I do have a saying that I live by. The reason I say this saying is because so many people get fixated on perfection, and then I turn and say, you can't be perfect. Nobody can be perfect. You can't be perfect in life. You can't, as much as you think you could be perfect in golf. You could hit the perfect shot in your mind right down the center of the fairway, and it hits the weirdest thing, a rock, sprinkler head, stone, odd shape in the fairway, and it just kicks out. It kicks out and goes into the, let's say the rough, or it goes into a hazard, or it goes out of bounds. Perfection should not be a mindset for us when we're working at our game. Okay? So I tell my students, do not work for perfection, work towards mastery. So if you're getting a small little clue here, mastery mindset is honestly probably the strongest approach at getting better at this game, or really saying, out of the three intrinsic motivators, mastery really is the one I would suggest leaning towards. But again, to each their own, and the choice is yours. Autonomy, purpose, or mastery. Now, within understanding the mastery mindset, is just referring to having, really the idea of just working at something to, in a sense, increase your skill level to where it becomes really second nature. Like you don't even have to think about it, right? So these pieces are very, very important in understanding of what mastery really is. So when we look at this, we're going to want to think of it as the sense of growing confidence and competence through feedback. Now that feedback can be, if you listen to episode 1, the data that you're collecting and seeing your statistical or your analytical changes, like what's going up, what's going down, with the focus on improving. The other aspect of this is getting, really what we kind of say, and getting better at anything is finding the shortcut, right? And the shortcut to getting better is going to be finding a mentor, right? Now you can gain a mentor in the other pillars, but becoming a master of golf means that you're going to want to find someone who's already made a bunch of the mistakes and can basically steer you clear of running into those same mistakes, where you have to understand mastery and time within a linear scale is that, a lot of us don't have a lot of time to where we can go through and be the first to run the race, as it were. Better to go ahead and get a coach or a teacher or an instructor that can guide you away from the missteps to keep you from losing too much time at improving at your skill set for golf. And just really just help you improve your fundamentals, your skill set quicker, without having to get distracted through making too many mistakes. Now, there's still going to be mistakes. You're going to be making mistakes within the shortcuts through your mentor that's going to guide you into, like, here's what you want to think about with your swing plane, your grip, understanding your face path relationship. How does angle of attack play into this? What does speed really mean, right? So they're going to guide you into, like, oh, dude, don't get distracted by all these other things. You want to focus on these pieces here, and you're going to make mistakes within those pieces to develop those skills, but you don't have to go search and find the answers of how to gain those skills because they're already being presented to you. Okay. So within mastery, you have to have your discipline, your dedication, your desire, your drive to get better. Now, Like I said in the last episode, maybe in some previous ones, I spent a lot of time researching and going over this to really help you, the golfer, find and understand a less polarized or just media frenzied like image of what it means to get better. I mean, when we look at online golf improvement, it's all quick fixes, just like it was with articles in Golf Weekly or Golf Monthly. You think of jumping on and watching the Golf Channel with Michael Breed being kind of the face of instruction for a number of years. Everything's just quick fix, quick fix, quick fix versus first understanding what you like. So let's take a second. The intrinsic motivators. So you're playing golf, you want to get better, and you just almost start grasping at straws. Information. How can I get better? Spinning wheels. Your eyes are spinning in your head, like almost like cartoon spinning eyes. And you start going after, the autonomy approach. Me. This is how I want to do it. I'm gonna look at this. This feels more natural. I can control it. It's all within my, my control. And it brings us kind of like, think of our super egos and id, right? Sigmund Freud. And then we have like the motivating purpose. Okay, I want to get better. Do I want to get better for the right reasons, the wrong reason? So spinning your eyes again, and then thinking of mastery and how mastery could be a little scary, going and getting a mentor. So your eyes are spinning there, like, oh, do I really want someone to help me? There, we expose ourselves when we go into mastery, because now we're showing our actual true skill level to a master and or the coach, the instructor, and the teacher, and that can be very nerve-wracking and scary. And I give a massive POBs, as I call them, pat on the backs for students or just golfers in general that take that leap of faith and they go and get someone to look at their swings. Because a lot of us are scared to get ourselves looked at. It's no different going to the doctor, the fear of the doctor saying that you have something. We get scared, we get nervous. But again, these pillars of motivation that are motivators for us, we have to understand which one are we. Now, we really do want, in the end, the point of all this is that we do want to have all three of these working together. Autonomy gives us opportunity to be creative and to potentially think of taking what you've learned within the mastery format of a different way of thinking of how to move through your feel, right? I've had plenty of students over all the years that I tell them, we'll just say, like I always like to put it, I want you to think of this and feel it as the color blue. All right, they work at it, and we come to find out that actually through that process that they found out that the color red made more sense. And that could be through their autonomy. That could be through them being creative of taking the concepts and feels and ideas that I've presented to them and helping them then unpack that, you could say, like unpack it all, and then be able to then find their way, their color of seeing the swing for themselves, which then becomes their own aha and light bulb moment. And they actually come out to they actually get better. And it starts to feel that they found it themselves, which is very, very important. And then not forgetting purpose, but having purpose, the right purpose. We want to get better because we want to enjoy this game for ourselves and to challenge ourselves and have the right purpose. So if, again, we walk through these kind of quick reference to definitions, mastery is the feeling of competence, continued improvement via continued feedback. Autonomy is the feel of being in control and working at your own pace, basically, and what feels natural. And then your purpose is the knowledge that the work actually matters. So again, if you're an individual, like you're only one of the pillars, you've got a problem. Even though I've said, like, I want you to lean, if you're going to lean towards just one of them, lean towards mastery, because you're going to get a mentor out of this, someone who can help you. but you want to have all three, right? So I could say until I'm blue in the face about the things you can find that are all your influencers out there, but it really isn't fair to them because it's been going on forever. Okay. And then you can say like your purposes could be wrong, or you're working towards mastery and you got the wrong coach. So there's ways that things can break and fall apart and not work. But if we put the three of them together and we take the drive, again, discipline, desire, dedication, and we pull these together, our true drive to get better at this game, we come with a purpose. I want to score lower. I want to break 80, which is probably one of the most common for those that are getting beyond the novice level. Let's just say that we'll say that hypothetically we're that person right now. I want to break 80. And I want to find help. I want to find a mentor, but I want to also have my own autonomy in it so I can be creative. I have a creative freedom within my feels, that I'm not just being told what to do, that I actually have some say in my development, right? So we want purpose, we want mastery, and we want autonomy from the drive, the very center of us. We're driven to get better, but we want all three of these active when we're improving. So with this being said, I really employ you to take a moment and really write down to yourself the purpose, right? Have your goals really set. This goes back to data. You don't know what's wrong until you look at the data. You got to have unbiased data, right? You got to also put in check your egos, right? You can't just be full autonomy that you're on your own and just trying to figure it out yourself when you have a shortcut option, which is through the path of mastery, through a mentor, an instructor, or coach. But you got to have purpose. You can have all the drive in the world, but you have to have purpose. You need to have your goals. And then that's going to help you find discipline. It's going to help your desire to get better, to get stronger, and then your dedication to it, right? Your dedication to this is the balance of working through the creative side and the mentor side, your mastery and autonomy through drive to get to your ultimate, the purpose of why you're actually playing this game and trying to get better at it. So again, I could bore everyone to death with the passion I have talking about these things, okay? But I want your purpose to not be about anyone else around you that has maybe some influence on your game. I want the purpose to be from within. I want your purpose to get better to be about what it means to you to play better at golf and how you feel when you play good golf and how you feel when you play bad golf. You can use your bad and your goods to help you create goals and find your purpose. So again, I really found this is a fun thought experiment for myself when I read this book a long time ago. So again, the author that I'm referring to that has helped me create this idea for golfers is Daniel Pink, and his book is Drive. And I suggest it. I know he has an audio version. He has obviously a hardback version or paperback version, but Daniel Pink, Drive, the surprising truth about what motivates us. I think this could help any golfer, not only with their game, but also with maybe their business or their personal life, and just understanding, wow, how archaic am I when I think of, I'll just hang the stick in the carrot out and see if they'll grab at it. In reality, people really want to have all three of these pillars, and I felt that this made absolute sense for us in getting better at golf. It's really a mindset. It's a belief system, philosophy, a method of understanding ourselves, right? Understanding ourselves to get better is important. If we don't understand ourselves, we don't have the data, we don't have knowledge of what's wrong or how we want to go about it, we can't get better. And that's the problem with a lot of things, is we don't sit down and take the time to focus on a purpose from what is driving us inside to try and get better. But we got to have goals. You can have all the desire in the world. You can be like, I just want, oh man, I just want to get better. But if you don't create structure, you're not going to get better. You're not going to get better. Now, there's a lot of other books out there that I would suggest that has helped me with this episode tonight. But we'll save some of those other influencers to me to help my students and to help you listening for another episode. But again, something to keep in mind that I mentioned just a little bit earlier is when you're looking at putting all this together, right? And as I mentioned, like if you're just going to be one of the pillars, that's the only way you're going to go about this. You need to have these three things. You got to have choice, you got to have tools, and you got to have trust, right? But even with you being on your own with a single pillar, you need those. And if you're driving all three pillars, you really want this. And someone might ask, like, what does trust really mean? Trust is kind of on think of it as on the mentor side more than anything. So might bounce back to like, well, the autonomy of it. Well, if you're doing a lot of if you're looking at a lot of golf instruction through influencers, then I would really say you go to trusted sources. Okay, trusted sources. All right. So with that being said, again, I'm Derek White. This is Sunday Stick. And I hope you took away from today's episode of how to really understand yourself better as someone who's trying to get better at this game, golf, by having more structure and really more of a lane to try and be within, to progress into getting yourself better at this game versus just grasping at straws and throwing things at the wall, hoping things stick, right? So again, have purpose. We want autonomy, but go get yourself a mentor. Work in mastery. And I promise you, you'll find yourself feeling more fulfilled in your endeavors towards improving your game with this system versus, again, just the standard hope and pray. Your desire can only go so far, right? So again, Derek White, this is Sunday Stick. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you in the next episode.